So in the last few days, Observable came out with a static site generation tool that I think is pretty interesting. You can create pretty in-depth dashboards and data visualizations with it. So I want to take a quick look at it. And yeah, it's a static site generator, so we can import some data from our computer and in the end build the site and deploy it or self-host it, what I like. And we're gonna build a small Formula One visualization app with it. So let's start. So I'm in the terminal and we can simply get started by running yarn create, or you can also call npm init at observable HQ, and it's gonna fetch the installation package. We can create a new project. I do it in F1 data app. Yes, the title is okay. Include sample files. I would say yes, so we can actually look at what the sample is. And via yarn, I'm using yarn. You can of course use any other package manager. Git repository, yeah, that's fine. And it's going to install the dependencies. And we're done now. So you can see we have this new folder, and I'm opening that in code. So this one here, and we see that we get a basic setup here, and we can yarn. What commands do we have? We have dev, so we can then look at the example here. So gonna make that bigger. We get a few examples with this charts here. That's actually a cool one. And example dashboard. It's loading. That's looking great. So we can see we can do nice looking data reports with this framework. So let's build our F1 example from scratch. So to get started, I imported an SQLite file. You know me, I like SQLite. So this is about Formula One data that we're gonna use as a baseline to analyze some data. And the cool thing about Observable is it's enriching markdown files. So what we can do, we can create a new markdown file and call it f1 report.md or something. F1 report, and so we can, this will show data about season 2033, etc. And we, because it's markdown, we can do something like doing bold things, and I don't know, data should be, I don't even know how to do. Is it like single? Yeah, I think. Okay, and so what we done now, we can then start our development server, yarn dev, and then we can reload, and we get this new page. So here first a few examples from the example repository. Gonna skip that, and we get this empty page basically. We can collapse the menu, etc. And we first can see it's working. This is bold, for example. And interestingly now, how we can show data. And I prepared a little bit. So first up, we have this SQLite file, we want to use it. So how are we gonna do that? So we say consume SQLite file and import database. And the cool thing here is we can just write code that's actually executed inside the JavaScript in the markdown code brackets. So we have to specify we're using JavaScript. Then we can actually do imports. So first do file attachment, and with file attachment, So let me first show you this. File attach. Here we can basically load any data. So it can be JSON, it can be CSV, it can be Excel, I guess. Yeah, XLSX, XML, zips. So really cool. Just import your data. And they even have like a way to you can use like CLIs to import data. So if you have like a Python CLI that returns some JSON, it can be called from the build process, or we can even develop our JavaScript logic to load data. And what I'm gonna do is just connect to our database. And so first I say file, await file attachment, and I'm gonna specify our SQLite file. So if I go back here and reload, path is wrong, I guess. So you can see errors here, but now we see nothing. We can, to check out if it's working, we can actually like call a display function, and that shows our variable here. We see, yeah, file is found, MIME type is nothing. SQLite doesn't have a MIME type as it seems, but we can now initialize the database. You can see here it's a database client. Can like use functions on it, and so let's do that. We gonna run a query, and this one is called constructor results, and we're gonna basically look at all the Formula One teams, how they ended up in the season. And we see that we actually got an array, and first team is Red Bull, 21 wins, won the season. Second one is Mercedes. So we can simply just debug by displaying the data here. That's cool. But now we actually want to make use of it in a real way. So we can do a table, for example, and it's pretty cool. What we just do instead of display is we can do inputs.table and pass the data, nothing more, and we get automatically this a nice looking table. And the cool thing is we can even sort it differently. And yeah, that's actually pretty fast to get to use tables out of the box. Gets more interesting when we want to actually like visualize the data in an advanced way, to use charts. And for that, the framework comes with a few libraries, actually a lot of libraries. So here's the documentation, and one is, for example, Apache. It's a Leaflet, for example, for maps you can use. We can use Mermaid to do like these flow diagrams. We can use Observable Plot. That's an own JavaScript library from Observable based on D3 that allows us to use lots and lots of charts. We can use LaTeX to display formulas, etc. TopoJSON is nice to get charts and use them with other charting libraries. We get D3, so as Observable builds on top of D3. D3 is like the godfather of all charting libraries. It's pretty low level, for me pretty complicated, but it allows you to do anything, so you can also do that. And what I like is also SQLite, that's doing image charts, but it has a pretty nice syntax. I'm gonna focus on Observable Plot as it produces pretty nice looking charts out of the box, and the API is, I wouldn't say like pretty easy, but it's pretty fine, because yeah, charts are always very complex, and you can check out the examples. So here's the documentation. and they offer here a lot of examples what you can do. This library can basically fit all your needs, and also it has nice documentation here, so that's where I looked everything up. But yeah, okay, now enough talking, let's get started. So we want to do a bar chart. First we need so display as bar chart. First we need to do is import the plot library from Observable Plot, and first plot we're gonna do is a simple bar chart where we just list the points of each constructor, and so we just say plot.plot, x-axis is a points, so that's just a label, but here in the marks array we have plot bar x. We pass our data that we queried up here before, so we can just reuse it, and I say x should be the points column or attribute of the array. So we just give the key object keys here. X is a points, Y is a constructor name, and we fill by, well, let's just first look at it. So that's it. We get nothing because, yeah, that's always a bit confusing. In the end, we just get like the HTML back. We actually have to call display on it. And if I now refresh, I get nothing. Why do I get nothing? I haven't saved. Okay, now it's working. So we see this beautiful chart, but it's actually takes some time. So for example, we can define like a color thing. I say it's based on a logarithmic scale. So basically, I pass here the fill points, and then it takes this color attribute and says, okay, based on the points, I apply a logarithmic scale on it, and I pass turbo, that's a defined color scheme, and then we get like this result of most points is that color. So for example, we can do also linear, but I think as differences are pretty big here, log is better or looks better. So just do that. And we define labels, margin left, so that's also a little bit painful here, is that by default, because the names are too long, the library isn't smart enough to make enough space, so we have to manually do that. That's a little pain point here. But with not so much logic, we get this result, which is nice. And so what I wanted to do now is to check out a little bit more advanced charts. So first again, I query some data. So this time we query each race, each driver, and his points. And then we can do another plot. And this is now making like, so defining the charts with this library is pretty straightforward. If you look at the marks array, so we basically, each in this array is like showing something. So we say x is x, is we show like the driver information on the x-axis. Then cell is like doing drawing little cells, and we say, okay, we pass our data here, and we say x is a driver because it also makes sense with the showing the axis information here, and y is each race, and we can use a fill on it, so it's colored based on the points, again on a scale, and this time linear. And we also draw points, so the cell is just colored. Now we draw a text on the points and show the information like the points as a text. So in the end, we get this cool heat map where we can look at each race and can see here for Alonso started pretty strong, and in the middle there kind of went worse. Max Verstappen, of course, had a outstanding season, and you can nicely see like Nick de Vries was kicked out of the team for Ricciardo. Ricciardo drove 2 races, then hurt himself, so Liam Lawson took over 5 races. In the end, Ricciardo returned, and like other things like Leclerc doing some great races and then getting 0 points, etc., etc. And I think like this is pretty cool that we use Markdown and get some charts here. So next I'm going to show some more examples. I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but generally testing what we can do. So I also have like a box plot for how many like the point distribution each driver got. So for example, Verstappen almost always 25 or 26 points. You get an extra point if you had the fastest lap in a race. And like Perez had a really great span from winning races to 0 points and much in the middle. And Albon in the lower points. Hamilton also great span. So yeah, that's pretty nice to get an estimation on how good or how consistent the driver is performing. And so what's the code looking like? Box plot, we have marks here. Box X is another function to get the box plots, and we say just X is the points and Y is the driver. So we get a driver for a box plot for each driver. And the next one is here using facets. So we have here each race on the x-axis and each constructor team on the y-axis, and we can see like how they are performing. So if the dots are a little bit bigger and colored, it's more points they scored. If you look at it, like Williams, they have everything's white and small boxes. They didn't perform as well. So that's also possible. Can query like the data we get for each team and each round, its points, and so it's fitting really nicely to use like also aggregations in SQL. So of course we could do that in JavaScript, but we're doing it here with SQL, and then we can just pass the data down to the plot. And here again we have like we use frames, that's the boxes around each thing, and then we use a dot function to draw these circles, and for which circles do we draw them. So X is the round on the bottom, stroke is like the points, that's the color of the points, so it's again based on a color scheme, and the radius is the same also on the points, but it would be like way too big for winners and way too small for 0 points. So I have like square root function here and the minimum. And interesting, like here is Fy. So we have like groupings by team. So basically say for each team, create a new frame and also put a label on the left for each team. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. And now to get more interesting results, we have to add interactivity. So let's start off. We can first query some data. So we again we query here the results of each driver for each round, and then we're gonna now use some JavaScript to process the data. So we create a set and add each team. A set is like a unique array type, and we can transform it back to an array. So we get an array of each unique team. And then we can actually render a select list here. So we can call view and then inputs.select. We pass the teams and we can set a default team like Ferrari and label select team. So we can now look at it and we can see here we have a select list now with our data, and we can actually use it in our markdown, which is pretty cool. So we can generally write some text here and then use the dollar and curly braces syntax to pass the current value of the select list. And this is reactive, so if I change something, the text does update. Also, we can do like more advanced operations. So here I go into an object from the first bar chart, and in there I look up for the selected team, which positions they ended up. So I can now see Red Bull was first, Ferrari was third, Williams was seventh, etc. That's pretty cool. And so we can also do more information. So we can filter it so we get information about basically which of the drivers are in the teams. So we can see, okay, Williams has Albon and Sargent, and we can like Ferrari, Sainz and Leclerc. And then we can use all this to get this complicated, I'm not going to go into details here, this took me way too long, diagram that shows like the race finish time or the difference between the race finish time of two drivers. So for example, in here, in Saudi Arabia, Sainz finished 8 seconds in front of Leclerc, where in Azerbaijan he finished 24 seconds behind of Leclerc. And the cool thing here is actually that we can use the reactivity, so it's only for one team, as you have seen. We can basically, we use here that we filter the race time so the query shows the data of all the teams, and then we apply the select list value to filter it to only get the data from the selected team, and we're gonna use that in our chart. So when I change it, we can, like, for example, go to Mercedes and see their data, and Red Bull should be pretty blue because, yeah, he finished always better than Paris. Yeah, that's pretty cool, and that's how we can work with this tool. So we can actually look at some examples. So if we go to the that's the homepage. If we go to the page of the framework here, Observable 2.0, the best dashboards are built with code. Here are a few examples. They are pretty cool and can show even more what's possible. So here is an interactive dashboard. We have also here an input, and we can see that everything else like adjusts to it. So here's a time scale and the colors change, etc. And that's really showing the potential of this framework. And but if we look at like the source of this, it's getting pretty complex pretty fast. So this is only like calling JavaScript functions, importing lots of data, and they end up here with a lot of logic. You can't even, like, I think in the end really see where like, or glance over the file and see where everything's defined. Also interestingly here, this uses a lot of HTML. So you can also write normal HTML in here. And as you can see, like here, these cards, I would say, they are next to each other. And in the end, it's this is done by writing HTML. I think that's way too complicated, because I like the simple approach of here just writing these small reports that is Markdown basically, where you can like use some logic and etc. to make a simple report. But if you end up doing something like this here, then why not use like a JavaScript frontend, normal JavaScript frontend framework in the first place, as you can implement the chart frameworks in there too. So this is actually a static site generator. So what you can do is run yarn build, and it's going to output the dist folder here. And so we get that. And what we can do here is now run npx serve dist, and we get a small web server here. So I have it already opened. And what's interesting to me is I thought, like, as this is a static site generator, that maybe it somehow figures out how to do static charts, but yeah, it's also like complex with interactivity. So interestingly, if we reload the page, I noticed that my SQLite file does actually get served to the client with like SQL WebAssembly. So I'm importing the whole SQLite file, and it doesn't like extract the data needed and into a JSON or something. So I think anything with a file thingy, file, how do they call it? File attachment thing, does really get a copy to the distribution and does get served from to the clients. So if you shouldn't like have any documents with sensitive information, even if you don't like use them in any charts, it's gonna copy the files to the dist folder. Yeah, this is it, the little overview about Observable. I think for specific use cases, it's really nice. I'm curious to see like the customization like of the layout or something, because it looks nice out of the box, but how much can I customize it? I might want to like even use single pages as iframes in an existing app and don't want like a whole hosted app from it. For that also like not static site generator site, but like a dynamic generated file would be nice. So server-side rendering basically. And but I think this is in a pretty, I wouldn't say like alpha, but this is not like the next Nix.js or something, or SvelteKit. This is pretty tied to data visualization purposes. But yeah, I like the observable plot library. You have to get used to it. I spent hours building this small dashboard, but I'm also like really amazed like how great or how flexible this library is. Like, these aren't your everyday charts you can find in the basic wrapper libraries. These are really in-depth and complex charts to fit really specific needs. So that's pretty cool. But you could, of course, use the plot library in just JavaScript front-end frameworks. So you don't need to use the observable static site generator for that. Thanks for tuning in. Let me know if you have any questions or feedback. Hope you enjoy your day, and cheers.